This is the She Dares to Travel podcast, and I'm your host, Raquella Pollock. After spending a decade managing the #1 travel agency in Canada and now working with tourism businesses in risk management, I am here to connect you with women who are taking the travel industry by storm, as well as business professionals with a passion for travel, just like me. We are here to inspire, motivate, and uplift you to not only follow, but plan out your dreams, no matter where in the world they may be. Be sure to leave a review, subscribe, and follow along. Hello, all you daredevils. Welcome back. Another trip around the globe. We are here today chatting with someone that I am very excited to get to know more. Founder and CEO of Jelani Travel, Ashley and Company, joins us today as we are celebrating their 10th year of operation. Woo, very exciting for celebrations. A little bit about Jelani Travel. It's a travel company that's dedicated to providing curated experiences for Black travelers, reimagining Africa, and fostering cultural understanding. The company has curated over 600 travel experiences, visited 108 countries, and explored 6 continents and also 35 states, just to throw that in there too. Ashley has spoken with brands such as Google, Mailchimp, Lyft, Uber, and more, all about the unique travel experiences for their workforce. And it's really something that I can't wait to hear more about. Ashley, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's awesome.
I'm so excited to dive into all things travel. Whereabouts are you joining us from?
I am currently in Baltimore, Maryland.
Nice. Have you always been living in Maryland?
No, I'm actually from Augusta, Georgia, but I've been third generation military, moved all around, all over the world, and I've lived abroad, even as an adult, in several countries. So I decided I wanted to settle down, and so I just came upon Baltimore. I've really been enjoying it.
Wow. And being in the military, traveling around, has it been a lot of, well, you said all over the world, but a lot within the US, North America, or where have you been the most, would you say?
With the military, my grandparents were in the military and my mom as well. They both retired military. And so throughout childhood, I've even lived in South Korea, but in the States, I also lived from Washington State to South Carolina to Georgia was where I spent the most time. So that's where I claim. That's where I was kind of
Amazing.
raised. So
Very, very neat. What a way to see the world, actually. Very incredible.
that's how it
And
all
did
got
you
started.
I bet the travel bug, right? Once you get bit with it, no matter how it starts, it is hard to get rid of. Very hard to get rid of. Do you so obviously that had a big impact into what you do now in travel. Was there college, university you went to at all as well?
Yes, that also played a huge role in kind of even how my company has developed today. So, when I was in Georgia, when I graduated, I decided to go to Hampton University in Southern Virginia, and it's a historically Black college and university. Amazing university that I really love. I go back every year for like a reunion celebration for our homecoming. So yeah, I went to Hampton, but then after I graduated from there, I actually started working with a Fortune 50 company, Pepsi, and I was running a district in North Carolina. So I also lived in North Carolina. So yeah, I've just kind of been different opportunities. I just kind of accept it and go where the wind blows me. Always been kind of a nomadic spirit.
Amazing. You almost have to be when you're picking up and moving that much. When I
Mhm.
was reading your bio, I had to do a double take when I read the Fortune 50 company you're working for. I'm like, a Fortune 500? I'm like, no, no, no. Fortune 50. This is like the top 50 out of the
Yeah.
500.
Yeah.
Very different. What was that experience like for you?
Well, it was interesting because it was a kind of a college to corporate hire program where you come in and you do some different rotations throughout the different business functions and under the region. So I was under the Carolinas regions, and I was primarily focused on under the sales force. And so I ended up running a large and small format district of about 300 stores and had about 15 full-time employees who were all older, white men, so many differences. And it was really interesting navigating that space, especially working in the South, because my station was in the Carolinas, specifically the Raleigh-Durham area.
Yeah.
And so I just think I learned a lot about leadership, and I think I picked up being adaptable to my environments just from being a military brat, basically. But I was really able to utilize those skills and grow those skills, just having to learn how to manage so differently.
Absolutely. And something coming right out of schooling into that type of position too. I can imagine relying on the military background would help and give you that confidence to be able to lead with, yeah, just confidence to go forward with what you're doing. Wow. How would you say that that experience of working in that type of environment has helped you with what you're doing today with the travel company?
I think it had a big part to do in the success of the company. I remember my direct supervisor at the time, one of the things that he said that stuck with me was that success was in the details. Because we had to manage a lot, because the large and small format stores would range from a mom and pop on a college campus to a corner store, all the way to huge Walmarts out in different types of neighborhoods. And so in those stores, you still had to manage the managers there in the back end, and there was just so many moving pieces. And so in order to effectively manage and sell, you had to really learn about relationship building, building a rapport, but also really handling your details, because otherwise they'll end up handling you. And I think I took such a huge task of being able to manage so many different things in that industry and translated it over really well into us running over 18 destinations across Africa. And even since the pandemic, we've expanded outside of Africa to about 6 or 7 countries. And so having to work with so many different type of people, different cultures, different mindsets, especially in how patriarchy looks in overseas versus in the US is also different. So just really navigating, again, just differences, and just how you end up effectively getting the job done, and communication. So I think all of those skills really came into play when I ran my company.
Wow. It's very, very true that these moments and all those moments are the things that shape you into where you are. And a lot of women that I speak to, it's always that they've been following their passion that's brought them into travel and tourism. And there's a lot of people that do say things like, "Oh, 'cause I'm in commercial insurance by day," I like to say, but it's still for a lot of tourism companies and industries. And whenever I go to conferences, people are always like, "Well, you should just get back into travel and tourism." I'm like, "I'm kind of still there," but it's following the passion. And it sounds like that's what you did from making the change. Or was there anything in between Jelani Travel and working for Pepsi, or was it straight in, and how did that look for you?
Yeah, that you're absolutely right. Like, the change came from 100% from passion. You couldn't have told me when I was at Pepsi or in college that I'd be doing anything remotely close to this. I actually thought that I would work for the NBA. Now I have hopes to
Mm,
have a contract with the NBA Cares
okay,
program, but
nice.
yeah, I wouldn't have expected travel. I always loved travel. Like you said, I got bit by that travel bug at the age of 7 when I was going to visit my grandparents who were stationed in Adana, Turkey. At such
Wow.
a young age, I'm going to visit them in the summer. So that really changed my life as it related to travel, but it felt personal. I didn't even dream about how it could be a professional pursuit. People would say, well, you should be a travel agent, and that just wasn't my interest. And I kind of just thought that was really the only path. And so it really came because of the passion, and because I was having such a dynamic and really transformational experience when I actually left. I'd always been traveling, but when I left my corporate job and I backpacked through all of Central America, all of South America, and then I got invited personally by a Kenyan family that I met in North Carolina while working at Pepsi, who invited me to their home where they were going home for a wedding to Kenya. And that was like the final straw. I was like, oh my gosh, this was so transformative, so liberating, so powerful, that I was like, I have to figure out how to get other people here to have these experiences. And so 100%, 110% built on passion. Didn't think about profit, didn't think about how I'd make it work. I just was like, you all have to come and let's figure it out. And so kind of been doing that ever since, but putting a lot more time and investment into just educating myself and just really I also put a lot of time into physically traveling. At that
Mhm.
point I had probably been to 30 countries and now I'm over 100. And so just building the knowledge base and just really caring about the outcomes for people and that they're actually finding themselves with having more than just a trip, that they're actually really having intentional, purposeful travel that leaves them changed for the better. And so, really, that passion is what has just driven the profits at the end of the day.
They say that if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life, and I don't think that rings ever like even more true when it comes to people that work in tourism. And
Yeah.
I love to hear that story because I can almost bet, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am, that that feeling you had when you first went to Kenya is what you're trying to recreate for everyone. So it's and having that feeling. So tell us a bit about what that experience was like for you. What did you do when you were there, and how did it spark the idea to start bringing so many more women there?
Yeah, I do just want to say I do feel like I get the sentiment about you never work a day in your life.
The
There's
hustle
been
is
some
real.
tough times over this last decade, and but what keeps me going and keeps me like with the energy where I don't know where it comes from is definitely the passion. But I do
Mhm.
feel like work sometimes. As I
God.
enter this next decade, though, it has been so much easier. I mean, our systems, our process, our teams. I couldn't do what I've been able to accomplish without so much support. And so, yeah, in some ways, it's a great time. People are always like, I wish I had your job. I'm like, I know what you think you wish, but it's
Yes.
not just pictures and Instagram and hotels, you know?
It's so true. I would get that when I managed the travel agency for a while. It was always, "Oh, your job must be amazing, so fulfilling. You send people everywhere." I'm like, "Yeah." And I also get calls really late and wake up with like flight mares thinking I didn't book a ticket correctly. Like there's a lot that goes
Flight
into
mares, I love that.
flight mares. Yeah, they're real. They're real.
They really are. I just didn't know what to call it. I love that.
Yeah.
So what was the other question though? I'm sorry, I forgot, got off track.
Just that's okay. Just that experience that you first had when you went to Kenya, and what was that experience like? And how is it that even you create that now for other women that are traveling there?
Yeah, so what was so dynamic about the family that invited me is that and I didn't know it, but they were so wildly connected to almost everyone. And they had been inviting their friends. They went to another HBCU, North Carolina A&T, and they had been inviting their friends for years, and nobody is ever serious. You know, people aren't always serious about
Yes.
it. They had only met me for a few weeks, and so they didn't realize, they thought, I'm gonna invite her, but I've been disappointed so many times. People have said no so many times, and they didn't know who they come up against. Because I bought my flight that day. I was like, are you
Yes.
sure? I made sure they were sure. They were like, yeah, but okay. I was like, are you sure? I bought it that day because I didn't want them to change their minds. I
Good
thought,
for you.
what an opportunity. And then when I got there, they just really blew my mind because they had cousins and aunts and uncles who were in government, who had mansions, who lived in different regions throughout Kenya. So we didn't just stay in the city. They also had family members that they needed to see because they didn't go that often. And there were family members in um, slums, actually. I think, and I had never experienced that. Everything was eye-opening, everything was
Wow.
educational, everything was so transformational because no matter where we were, from the highest end to the low, the humility, the grace, the love, the community, I was able to see that everywhere. I was able to see the connection, just the joy. It just felt really good to be there, and especially to see it be so different than what I was shown in the media and in the news. And I think that was one of the most transformational things because even though I didn't know if I was specifically from Kenya, I knew that my descendants were from Africa, and everything that I had been shown about Africa was always negative, torn, poverty, and or maybe the most positive thing would just be animals. And there was so much more, and they really showed me the diversity of Kenya, which only made me feel like, well, what could the diversity of the other 53 countries on the continent look like? And it was that hospitality after traveling more than half the world. I can honestly say the best hospitality I've ever experienced is in East Africa. So I think I got especially lucky. Great hospitality in so many other regions of the world, including other regions of Africa. But if I had to choose the best, it literally is East Africa. And so that all played a part in me trying to develop that experience for others. So I want them to feel like they have family already there, ready to show them things that the average person couldn't. And as a result, I spent quite a bit of time for several years living in many of or staying for long periods of time in the countries that we offer because I wanted to take a different approach than I saw many like travel agents where they would just kind of meet somebody online, see some reviews, and kind of book popular hotels and just maybe the transport and a couple of tours, but hadn't met the people, they didn't have the relationships, and as a result, some of the activities they did were more surface, and there was so much more storytelling and just experiences that really leaves you changed, I think is was missing. And so that definitely translated. What I got in Kenya is what I try to recreate in every destination. And if I don't feel like we can or that we have enough relationships there, we don't go there. And that's why we only offer about 25 destinations.
Wow. So very well curated is the word. Very
Mhm.
curated and very
It's
thought.
actually in our motto. So it's Jelani Travel, and in the logo at the bottom of the logo, it says curated for the culture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it. And what a way to do it, knowing that you've spent so much time in those destinations to truly experience it, to make sure everyone is leaving fulfilled with some new experience that they wouldn't have gotten if they just picked it out of a Google review or something like that. So very neat. So 20, is it 20 just in Africa that you have
In
tours?
Africa, it's 18, and we actually just announced yesterday. So I actually need to get my numbers together. We just announced 6 new destinations with a
Nice.
partnership. We do a lot of custom trips for companies, business owners,
Yeah.
people who want to do retreats, milestone birthdays. And so sometimes they request places that aren't actually showing up on our website. But then that's
Mm.
when I go do all the things I do in my formula to go. I still
Mhm.
go and check it out and do everything first. And so some countries, I'm doing it specifically based on what they're looking for, and I'm going in to create that experience and make sure all the relationships are there. So they wouldn't be on the website. But some of my travelers, like
Mhm.
they might have come with us to Ghana or Kenya and had such a good time, and now they want to go to Amsterdam. And so
Mhm.
that's not a place that we typically go, but now we're going in June because I've gone there and done everything that they would want. And I'm like, there's other companies that are already there that do Amsterdam, but they want that Jelani experience.
Mm. Mhm. So walk me through one of the most recent ones that you've done, like a custom experience, one that you've checked out beforehand. How does it work for you? Or actually, what are the recommendations in that place that you did say or send people to?
Yeah, so one of our most coveted trips, I would say, is a Kenya Zanzibar trip. Best, I think a lot of people, especially travelers like us, if we can get 2 stamps on one trip, they're not
Yes.
even giving us a lot of PTO in America anyway. It's like, yes, let me make the most of it. So being able to do a 2 country tour is already a plus. And then East Africa, as I told you, the hospitality is just dynamic. And so people have a really good time and they end up telling all their friends and then they're starting to come. So they just love that itinerary. But I think the probably the 2 most special highlights of that itinerary would be that it's in the Indian Ocean. So the
Mhm.
waters are just pristine. People often think of the Maldives. All destinations are pretty much great, but I would say that the Zanzibar destination is better in that there's a lot more um, culture that's tangible that you can kind of see, touch, taste, feel, all those things, and history. And so a
Mhm.
lot of people say like it was really beautiful in the Maldives, but after a while I was kind of bored, unless I wanted to just be bored on the beach because it maybe was like a honeymoon or something. Whereas in Zanzibar, you can do honeymoon, you can do girlfriend trips, you can do family trips. We've done them all. And there's just I think a lot more going on. And then in Kenya, to experience one of the most vibrant cities of Nairobi, the
Mm.
nightlife and the shopping, if you're into like Afro chic design and things like that, you can get all of that there. But then to go to the most world famous safari, um, the most world famous safari is the one area, and depending on what side of the country you're on, has a different name. So there's the Masai Mara in Kenya, but that same national park becomes the Serengeti when you cross over into um, Tanzania, which is Zanzibar is part of Tanzania. So literally that itinerary just gives you so much from best safari, luxurious glamping, the Maasai warriors, one of the
Mm.
few tribes that still wear their traditional clothing like 100% of the time and keep up with their a lot of their traditions, even their housing is still made out of um, the earth, like mud and different things. And so it's just really interesting to have that experience that you can't really have too many other places. And so I would say those would be the highlights of things to experience. But the restaurant scene is amazing, the Swahili cuisine because of the Arabic influence as well as some of the Indian influence and then the African influence all mixed together. I don't know about you, but I
Mm.
love all of those
Mm.
three types of food
Yes, that sounds so
separately. So
good.
when you mix them together, it's like, and I'm sitting and it's on top of seafood and I'm sitting in the middle of the Indian Ocean. It's just like, who can beat that?
Wow. I've been to Morocco is the only place I've been. So oh yeah, Morocco was incredible. I really want to go to Zanzibar. My mother-in-law has been, and one thing that stands out as you're speaking between the Masai Mara and the Serengeti, when she was on a tour, um, the tour guide was saying, like basically I guess they crossed over on a safari and they're
Mhm.
like, yeah, so you crossed over, but there's no borders here. There's no like line like on the map. Like that's not how it works. That we follow the animals where the animals go. They run free. And I always thought that really stuck out to me because it just goes to show how vast the land is and
Mhm.
and beautiful. And what a beautiful, beautiful spot to see. So one day I want to go to Africa. My husband knows this. We are making it happen because that all sounds fabulous. What would you
Yeah.
say is one of your favorite dishes now that I'm
In the
drooling?
world,
I'm so
like my
hungry.
favorite,
Yeah, or favorite
or
dishes
in
even
East Africa.
in Africa. Yeah.
In Africa.
Hmm.
Mm. Well, my favorite dish, the simple answer is fish. But I mean, the grilled fish, it's probably the grilled fish from Cote d'Ivoire. Like that
Mm.
is chef's kiss. But there's this fish, this Swahili like fish, coconut. It's really good in Kenya and Tanzania. You can find it in both of those areas. It's really good. You eat it with ugali and sukuma wiki, sukuma wiki is like kind of like a collard green or
Okay.
spinach type of saute. And ugali is kind of like a mix between a grit and mashed potato. Um,
Yum.
you have some fresh chilies on the side. So that is really delicious. But the flavors and whatever they're doing to the vegetables they put on top of the fish in Cote d'Ivoire is just unmatched. So
Unreal.
much
Oh,
flavor. Mhm.
yum. Oh, that all sounds so, so good. I'm gonna have to switch up my dinner I'm making tonight and make it make it better after all of these ideas.
Where are you based? Because I
So
like
I'm
know
in,
where all.
yeah, I'm in BC in Kelowna. I don't know if you've heard of Kelowna. We're about
Oh, BC,
four BC, yeah,
British
Western
Columbia.
British Columbia.
Okay, I thought you said DC.
Yeah.
I was gonna be like, in DC, here's where you're gonna go. I know
Oh
all the
no, not
places.
DC. Oh no, BC. Yeah, British
Yeah.
Columbia. Yeah, I'm about
Okay.
4.5 hours east of Vancouver in the
Okay.
mountains. Yeah,
Yeah, it
mountain
must be
area.
so beautiful up there and cold.
It is. We've been oddly warm. Like we're
What's warm for
Celsius.
you?
So it's been like 10 degrees. Right? That's not bad for winter.
It's freezing for me.
Okay. However, last week we got down, or the week prior, we had a cold snap. We were down to -20. It was unreal. Like
I
that
saw
was
something on the
too
news.
cold.
I don't know which part of Canada, but it was like they said -40 and it was like a record breaking.
Unreal. That's probably east, out east. I think like maybe Montreal area, Quebec, Toronto. Oh, when it gets cold, it gets cold. We are really dry where we are because we're in it's very mountainous and
Mhm,
we've got all four seasons. So we've got lakes, we get really hot in the summer, like 40 degrees we can get up to. So it's kind of balanced, which is nice.
mhm.
But yeah, it's colder right now. It's colder. So talking a bit more about Jelani Travel, how does one get a company? 10 years you guys have been running 600 travel experiences, 108 countries. How does this happen? What type of team is required and how does it go behind the scenes to help with this growth to where you are today?
So, with the travel experiences, what I learned is that, like I shared before, there's no place I'm going to take someone if I haven't personally been myself. And so, a lot of my travel expertise, I do travel consultations as well, even if it's for somebody who just kind of wants a head start on their planning, but they want to do the planning themselves. And so, I've helped a lot of people get to a lot of places that I've been, but maybe they didn't necessarily need me to actually curate the experience for them. But in order for me to do that, I had to at least curate the experience for myself. So those 108 destinations are places that I've been. I would say, and then sometimes I would say maybe half of them I curated for myself and maybe a few other people. But I would say probably 50, probably about 40 of the places are been curated for people I just didn't even know.
Mhm,
So it's a mix of how we get to 180 is definitely a mix. So a lot of
yeah.
them, all of them, I at least had to curate it and do the research and figure it out for myself. But and many of them for a few others. But over the last 10 years, we were primarily doing anywhere from 16 to 20 plus countries within Africa and right outside. So we would do like our Egypt itinerary. Again, trying to maximize if you're coming out here, what else could you see along the way? And somebody who goes to Egypt wanting to see the eighth wonder of the world with the Great Pyramids of Giza would probably be interested in seeing Jordan to go see Petra, the
Mhm,
treasury, which is the seventh wonder of the world. And so we would put those two trips together. So if you wanted to do Jordan and Egypt, and so now you're outside of Africa. And then some places that were really personally special to me that I've lived and that I knew would be a good experience for my audience is Colombia in South America.
mhm.
So we started going there after the pandemic. People kept asking me, like, let's go some places outside of Africa. I'm like, okay, it's really wonderful, but okay, we'll do it. And so that's kind of just kind of like the background around the destinations. As far as the team that it takes, in the beginning, it was just me, and so I built a lot of skill and a lot of know-how, but and that passion is totally what was driving me. But it's been 10 years, and as I've gotten older, I definitely have slowed down. Like I used to be on all of the trips, all of the group trips, and now we have ambassadors. So that's plays a key role in our team. We also have a ton of contractors and one in-country manager who
Mhm,
manages all the vendors that support us in each country. And then our admin and operations team, that's probably the biggest backbone. And then we also do some contracting with other services like accounting and legal. We don't need in-house for that with our business type, but we definitely still need those functions. And right now we're still trying to build more support in marketing. So I mean, literally every area and department you can think of, it takes all of that to run
mhm,
this business and make it all happen. And I do a lot of business development and just relationship building because we a lot of our business are custom trips. It used to be in the beginning just group trips. Whoever wants to sign up
mhm,
to come on this group, travel with me. We still have those opportunities, but we do a lot of custom trips, and so really connecting with people who want me to curate it, especially for what they're looking for. Even if they don't know what they're looking for, I'm also really good at helping them. They just tell me what they think they want,
mhm.
and I can like let them know they're like, I didn't even know I wanted that. Thank you. And so. just understanding what their goal is, and I can just make it happen. Even if there's business goals involved or just simple, like this was my dream vacation or honeymoon or whatever it is.
It is a special job, it really is. It's definitely a rewarding job being a travel agent and tour operator and helping people. Of course, it's stressful too, but, you're bang on just with it takes listening. So you listening to what people want, understanding the country that you're going to, and putting those 2 together. So it's like this beautiful talent. It really, really is. And I always think too, like a lot of people still ask me to this day, should we even use a travel agent? And I'm out of that business now, but I always say yes. And my biggest reminder is, well, what if there's something when you're traveling and you miss that spot? Or what if something goes wrong? Do you want to have someone in your
Right.
corner advocating for you that has the relationships and the contacts to help you in that situation? So it really is something that I think is important. And after 2020 happening, I think now more than ever, people are realizing, oh, we really need to make sure that we go to a specialist when we're traveling. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really unique perspective that I also share, but I think because I started, I think it's where you are in your life and what I mean maybe what you can do and what your travel goals are because when I started, I was very nervous that I didn't have enough money and that I hadn't done it before. And it was also a long time ago before Instagram and things became so popular that TikTok and things could like kind of guide you. So it was
Hmm.
like I'm gonna be backpacking and how long is this gonna last me? And so there was a lot of things I was trying to do on my own, and it comes at the cost of convenience, right? Now I won't. Like I will get if it's a place I'm unfamiliar with, I'm going to get support. But I think it really just depends on where you are. I was like 24 and I didn't know if I had enough money that would last me for a year, so I had to like figure it out and it also built the muscle that made me more of the expert where I can help others. So I just think it just depends on what your goals are. And then a lot
Hmm.
of times there's probably a mix of both, right? Where you can do some of the research to try to figure out where you even want to go and what type of trip you want to have, and then share that with the specialist who can really take it to the next level, I think is really smart. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, because I do see people who they want that next level, but they don't want to pay for the service and they
Hmm.
try to do it on their own and they miss so much. And
Hmm.
also it ends up costing them a lot more money because they're not saving in areas where they could when they get on the ground.
Absolutely. Well, and it's always that funny thing where you go to a hair salon to get your hair done, a mechanic to get your car fixed. Go to a realtor when you're buying or selling a home. You go to specialists when you need their expertise. And
Mhm.
they've put it's their career, it's their livelihood. It makes so much sense. So I definitely agree with you on that. I want to know, you have probably been on hundreds of countless flights. Long haul flights, obviously, as well. What is one of your go-to tips for a long haul flight? Is there something like you always have to bring or carry with you or do to help you sleep? Or do you just power through and not sleep? What's your advice for your long flights? I'm curious.
So what I do in my advice, I think would be two different things because I know what I used to do a lot was stay up until it was time for the flight, and then I would sleep all the way through because I didn't really care to use the bathroom in on those flights. I would just literally try to sleep the whole time. And for whatever reason, flights do make me sleepy to the
Mhm.
point where I can be sleep before takeoff, and the only thing that woke me up was the landing.
Oh,
Um, and if it's,
amazing.
I mean, if it's really long haul, I might literally wait. I can sleep for like 12 hours and then wake up and have to watch a movie or two and then be there, something like that. But I think the advice would be to just try to make yourself as comfortable as possible. For me, it was to not have to deal with the people, any elements, anything. I sleep. But for others, it might really be like, I like snacking throughout the day on when I'm at home. You're gonna definitely want to do that there. So bring snacks that you
Mm,
actually like. Um, if you have anxiety, I think with people, you can't control that those people are still gonna be there. So you maybe should get some type of things that can like mellow you out. I don't know, what
mhm.
those would be, like a melatonin or something. I don't know what the
Yeah.
things are, but whatever you are doing, On the ground, I think you want to try to bring as much of that comfort as you can in the air, especially for long haul flights. If you have like a particular, like I rarely watch TV, but some people that's a huge part of their
Mhm.
thing. And so there's a lot of different options on the planes. But if you know you have a specific thing, or you know you really are not looking forward to a long haul, why not download the things that you know you love, that you know you needed to catch up on? So it's not just some shows that you have options of, but it's the show you actually are going to be into. And so that'll help the time go by fast, because like by the time you get done with that, it's like, okay, how much time do we have left? So I just think really amplifying what you already do in any ways that you can, in the air. And then I know a tip that I just don't do, but I'm going to start doing it. Compression socks are good. You should wear on long haul
Mm,
flights. You should wear compression socks. But in standing up, getting movement, because if you know that's the important part of your health regimen, when you're not on a plane, certainly for a long haul, you should get up and at least walk around if you can. Yeah, I think those are some things that can support you.
great advice. Definitely great advice. I spoke with a former WestJet flight attendant a few weeks ago, and she said I heard that one of the dirtiest places on a plane is actually the ice cube tray. And she said
Yeah.
that's not true. It's very clean. They
Oh,
usually use bags. Yeah. So they'll have bags that line it and then they clean it out, and then it's a new bag and the ice goes on top. So I'm like, okay, that's good to know. She said the bathrooms though, and she always would cringe whenever she saw people go in their socks and like bare feet to the bathroom because she'd be like,
oh,
"No, don't do it. Don't do it." That was like the grossest part of the plane. So wear the compression socks, but then keep your shoes on is what I want to
exactly.
add on
Yes,
to that.
that's a very important part.
Yeah.
I could never imagine not having my shoes on in that bathroom.
Uh-huh. I know. Or even bringing some like slip-on flip-flops or something, or slippers if you do want to
Oh,
get out of your shoes. That's a
yeah,
good
I
one.
have this ebook where I wrote some travel hacks, and now I'm forgetting some of them. So there's a travel uniform, especially for the ladies, that I
Oh.
think is good. For at least it worked out for me. So it would be actually just loose fitting dress with sleeves, just kind of a maxi but loose fitting cotton situation, with a light, I mean, I guess it depends on the weather, but with a light scarf, because that
Mm,
scarf can be so just, you can multitask with that, in that you can make it cute and kind of dress it up if you throw on a lip and change your
mm-hmm.
shoes when you get there if you needed to, versus the actual slides or tennis shoes, comfortable shoes you'll wear on the plane, while you're trying to walk through from one gate to the other. But then also, if you're cold, you'll be able to take it off and put it around you. There was one
Yes.
time when someone spilled their, I was in the middle seat. Like, it didn't get any more middle than that. It was like three people on this side, three people on that side, and somebody spilled Coke on me, and I did have somewhere I kind of wanted to look presentable as I got off. And so I used the scarf to wrap it around and make it kind of a belt. So it literally saved me from a stain. With my hair, I think I've used it to just wrap it up. So in a style, if you wear that type of style. So it's just
Mm-hmm.
so, um, so many different ways you can use it
Yes.
that I like to wear. And but the reason why I say a comfortable dress is because the few times that I do have to go into that airport bathroom, I find it's a
Mm.
lot easier to use the restroom when you're just lifting up a dress versus having to pull down pants,
Great
especially
idea.
leggings. And then I'll
Mhm.
wear leggings under it if it's like cold on a plane, but it's easy to very just take off when you're
Mhm.
getting somewhere that's a warmer destination. So I think that's good, versus if
Great
you didn't
idea.
have the dress and you only wore leggings, if you're hot, there's no
Mhm.
alternative for you. So that's just kind of some of the things that I like in my kind of travel uniform.
I love it. Travel uniform. It reminds me when I first started traveling and I thought it was a good idea to wear a romper on a like 10-hour
Oh,
flight to Amsterdam actually. It was the worst idea of my life. It was so awkward and you take it off and you're sitting there half naked. Like, why did I do this? I'm cold. Like it was brutal.
yes. And then all the belts, jeans and a belt when you
Oh,
go through TSA. That's why I'm
oh,
like, that dress
exactly.
just makes things
Yeah.
so smooth sailing.
Easy. Great idea. I love it. Great idea. So, talk a bit as well about Jelani Gives, the nonprofit organization of Jelani Travels. How did that come to be? And tell us a bit more about it too.
So interestingly enough, I actually started with the nonprofit. So my feeling when I got to Kenya and I was like, I have to bring more people here. I have to create these transformative experiences. Was that who am I to tell some adults what to do? And I'm not an actual travel agent. And how? So I had all these doubts at that time. And so I thought, but I could. I was already mentoring youth through my sorority, and I've always loved children. So I was like, I can definitely help shape their minds because what do they know? And I can really
Mhm.
support them and maybe change the trajectory of their life the way that travel changed the trajectory of my life from as early as 7. And so I just really was focused on young people, but what that meant was they were likely not going to be able to pay for it. And especially the demographic that I wanted to support, because I'm like, if their parents already could pay for it, they're probably already doing it. So why not reach some others? And I was um, personally passionate about reaching young people who wouldn't have that opportunity because I also was
Mhm.
that young person. Had not my grandparents and my mom gotten to the military, they would not have been traveling. They wouldn't have left their neighborhoods, quite frankly,
Mhm.
with just the socioeconomic status that they were in that cycle. My grandma had my mom at 15 and my mom had me at 18, and they used the military as a way to have a stable career. And that career just happened to have travel in the description, but that travel changed my life. And
Mhm.
so I thought, if you don't have parents who are with a job like that, how else would you be able to have these experiences unless I tried to create something? And then that means I also need to learn how to raise money for you. And so that's it. So we actually started with the nonprofit, and I
Mm.
actually had a very tough time raising money because people weren't seeing my vision, and they thought like, why would I donate for somebody to take a vacation? And I'm like, this is for young people who
Mm.
travel is the classroom, it's going to change their lives. And I'm a doer. And so I just felt once I had that feeling, which was it was June of 2022, or it was June when I had the feeling, and I
Mhm.
tried to reach out to get people to support, and some people did, but really not many. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna do this with or without you all. And so I used my savings, and my family helped too. And we were able to take 3 girls to Ghana 6 months later. They were like, some people who were
Wow.
trying to help was like, yeah, but just give it a year or two to really get your
Um,
LLC and figure everything out. And I was like, I got the LLC. Well, you need to fill out your 501(c)(3). I did. I did it all myself. I figured it out. I was like, now all I need for you to do is just donate like $50 and tell your employer to match it. And they weren't taking it, my network, some of my friends, people, they just didn't
yeah.
see it the way that I saw it. But after I took them, and then I was able to show social proof and take the pictures and hear their testimonies. And I really think just the visuals. 6 months later, we were back with 5 girls, and
Mm.
everybody supported because
Awesome.
they were able to physically see my vision and what I was trying to do. And so it actually started with young people. But what was also happening at that time is I had like 30 women saying, hey, I want to be a chaperone. Can I help? I love what you're doing.
Mhm.
I want to go. I never had anything like this when I was a young person. I also have been traveling now that I'm, working wherever I'm working, but I've never been to Africa, and like, can you take me? So I saw a business opportunity because I was really
Mm.
struggling with raising money. People were starting to help more, but it's very expensive, the liability of young people. And so I was like, okay, I'll take you on your separate, because I also was very passionate about the curriculum and the programming. And I'm like, I can't have 30 chaperones and only 5 girls. So I'll give you your own trip. I'll use that premium and the profit from that to fund our girls. And so that's what I did. And so that's kind of how Jelani was fully born. It started with young people, then it grew into 2 companies. And during the pandemic, though, we were no longer able to continue having the girls travel. And so we expanded and revised the mission to where instead of bringing them to abroad where our budget would be for 10 girls, we're now able to support 100 to 150 boys and girls with passports, and with an online learning program that will expand their mind to really let them know the importance of a passport and the importance of travel, so that whatever organization that will take them, or when they're ready to study abroad, or when they're ready to go with us on a private trip where we're not necessarily
Mhm.
funding it, but they're able to fund it through their school or however they want to do it, they will be on the right path and they'll have the first tool they need to access the rest of the world, which is that passport. And so now
Mhm.
it's shifted. Our mission is the same, but the way that our vision is the same, but our mission has shifted on how we get young people to become citizens of the world.
Beautiful.
Thank
Very
you.
beautiful. It is, and it's I didn't know that that came before Jelani Travels. So that is a
Mhm.
really unique perspective, and again, something that was so close to your heart that you wanted to showcase to others and to be able to make that happen. And I agree with you. It is actually a thought that we maybe all don't have very often, but there's so many kids that will never get to experience travel or that just like you said may only stay within the confines of their own city, their own town and not really look to
Mhm.
go anywhere else if someone hasn't prompted them to do so. So that
Exactly.
is such a great thing and you are changing lives and doing that from young to old clearly with the trips that you're doing.
Thank
I've
you
got
so
to
much.
ask, you are so welcome. Well deserved with the 10 years of everything you have going on. What does Jelani stand for or what does it mean?
Jelani means greatness, mighty or greatness.
Oh.
And we're trying to help people reimagine their greatness, reimagine their Jelani through travel, because we know travel means to connect. And when we connect to each other, we don't hurt each other. We
Mhm.
love each other, so we travel is just so important.
It is. And I feel with a lot of people, even more so now, and with all the things going on in the world, it's a reminder too that people are inherently good. There is a lot of
Hmm.
good when you travel. There's a lot of good. And yes, there are some people that are out there that manipulate and take advantage and that can happen. So still have your smarts when you travel, but people are inherently good. And that is a really big thing for all of us to remember when we are exploring and going out or trying something new or just getting off the beaten path to just go, book the ticket, just go. Just go. So,
Yeah.
for somebody that's looking to start their own travel company or just company in general, being an entrepreneur, what type of advice do you have for them?
I would say for someone who's looking to start their own company, the biggest thing to do would be to just start, because there's this concept called LAO. So you want to launch it, you have to launch the thing before you can ever analyze what's happening. And after you analyze what's happening, that's when you can optimize and make it better. And so a lot of times we get into this like analysis paralysis where we're just overthinking and we got to make it perfect, and we're so worried about what somebody made it look like on social media who's also probably struggling, but they're just really good at filters. And so if you just put out the thing, you can see where the mistakes are, you can see what you need to do to adjust, you can figure those things out, and then you can actually do it. And so you want to say you were established in 19 whatever or 2000 whatever, but you would have to actually launch the thing to establish it so that on that t-shirt you can look back and be like, yeah, we have been around for a while, but you can never have that if you don't start.
Mm,
And I think the biggest thing is when you do start, don't do what I did and try to do everything yourself. I don't do that anymore, but like in the beginning I thought I had to. And it's because you would see a price tag, like a prime example, when I did that 501(c)(3) paperwork, I would have had to pay someone else probably about $800 at the time, and I didn't feel like I had it. I felt like I needed to put that toward trying to physically get the girls over there, but and it's fine that I learned, there's always pros and cons, like, I learned it, so now if I wanted to do it for somebody else or help someone, I can do that, but in hindsight, had I just paid someone the amount of free time, because it took me forever, it was 31 pages at that time, and the anxiety of did I even do it right? Did I waste my application fee if it comes back, if it gets delayed? All of that mental space and that actual physical space being taken up in the form of time, um, what could I have been doing and using my gifts and my talents, applying it to that instead of, working on paperwork that somebody could have done in 30 minutes because that's what they do for their living. And I would have had to pay for that. But the opportunity cost a lot of times is so high that um, I might have been able to just have a conversation with somebody because I would have been in a better mental space, which is what I'm better at. and raise that money and twice that amount of money. But, so that's a young mistake. But I think what
Mhm.
I love about your podcast and even asking that question is like, really listen to what the people are saying, not just talking. I'm telling you exactly what I didn't do is what the opposite of that is what you should do. So for sure, gotta launch the thing. It can't be perfect until you actually launch it. Then you can make it better and better. But as you launch it, you don't have to do it by yourself. Hire the experts in the areas that you don't know that information.
I feel like you are speaking directly to me right now. I mean, technically you are, but
Yeah.
technically that resonates with me huge. And that actually is something that I agree. It is such great advice. And I feel like we do hear it. I hear it from other entrepreneurs. It is something that is so important to build the team, build the tribe around you that you have, and use everyone's specialties and expertise and their skill set that they thrive off of so they can do that to save you time so you can focus on what you enjoy the best. I think that's so well said and really such a good reminder for every aspect of life, even when it comes to doing things. If I could outsource people to do my laundry, I would really like that. That would be great. Not
That's a
right now.
real thing, and that has real value.
Yes, I know. I'm not there yet, but I know that one day I will have a house manager of some sort or something because it's true. It's where do we want to focus our time and what's fulfilling to us? We only get this one life on this beautiful earth, so how do we want to spend it? And where do we want our talents to go and how do we want that to affect other people and grow? So, very well said. Thank you. What's your ask for all of us that are listening? How can we support you further? What is your ask from all of us?
I think your listeners would really benefit from our custom trips. I think that I probably should do a better job on the website of really speaking to that because but we just have so many people that come to us, I guess, from coming on a group trip before, and then they have a personal need, like, I want my leadership team to have a retreat. And so we've been getting business where we hadn't really been putting it out there. But
Mm,
having this opportunity to be on your podcast and reach new people that I hadn't met, I would be remiss if I didn't share. I'm really good at that. I love it because I don't have to do the guesswork around what I think 10 or 20 different people might want on a trip. We do
mhm,
them, and I think there's benefit, but I really get to the secret sauce when I can just have a conversation with you, hear what you're looking for, and I also can hear what you're not saying because I know you don't know that this particular thing exists. And so I just love having those conversations and making dreams come true in the form of vacations, but also just transformational travel. So a lot of retreats. I do corporate experiences, like I said, with leadership teams or
mhm.
maybe departments. And
And
so that
is
you
it
don't
just women-led leadership or this is open?
It's actually really open. We rebranded in 2022. So it used to be called
Mhm.
Jelani Women Travel, and now it's just Jelani Travel. With the
Okay.
custom trips, it doesn't matter age,
Mhm,
race, gender, anything. Like whoever wants the Jelani experience, which
mhm,
is really just stress-free. Um, Typically luxurious. Some people are like, this is my budget, this is what I want, and we can even make that happen.
mhm,
But typically our clients, they're looking for just worry-free. A lot of times the media really has done damage. And so when they are wanting to come to Africa, they're scared. So we make sure that
mhm,
they understand that it's completely safe. It's amazing time. But also they get to show up in these retreats or these custom trips with whoever that they're trying to bring, whether it's a milestone birthday and it's friends and family, or if it's a leadership team, what if it needs to be time for lunch and learns for you to be able to
mhm,
speak at certain times, but rest at other times, for you to just be able to show up as your authentic self and in your superpower, whether it's something you want to share intimately with your audience who's on that trip with you, or whether you just want to maybe get certain images with videography and photography. We can set everything up. Some people want to come with a group of investors so they can look at real estate
mhm.
in certain countries. Whatever the industry is that wants to happen, I have that conversation and then I go make it happen. And I love doing that.
Love it. I can tell your face lights up when you're talking about it.
Yeah, yeah, because I
Awesome.
think that's the future. I mean, it's just so much
Mhm.
bigger than travel. It's really how can we have the things that we're looking for but in other places as well as home, because I
Yeah,
think home is really wherever you are. And so I just think there's so much that can be taking place, but the idea of travel usually stiffens people a bit because they're like, I don't know anything about that place. But that's, you don't have to. That's where we come in. And so the idea that you can expand any idea or any platform internationally as a business leader, I think is a profound one. And to know that you don't have to do any of the groundwork to make that happen. We just kind of show up white label style, make you look like a rock star. That, why not? I love it.
absolutely, absolutely. I love it. Where can people find you? How can they find Jelani Travel?
I think the best way, I really love just interacting one-on-one. So we have a Instagram account, it's called Jelani Travel, but I love for people to connect with me directly, Ashley in Company _ on Instagram. And then the same thing with the website. There's ashleyincompany.com. There's also gojelanitravel.com. So yeah, we
Perfect.
can connect either one of those ways.
Awesome. I'll have them all linked in the description of this episode. Thank you again so much for just taking the time. Congrats on 10 years. So
Thank you.
exciting. And really, you're just changing the lives of so many. So I'm just really grateful to chat with you today. Thank you. When it comes to beautiful British Columbia, Vancouver Island is definitely one place to put high on your bucket list. As your island gateway, Nanaimo Airport is conveniently nestled in the Central Island. It's located right between the hubs of the Cowichan Valley and Nanaimo, and you're only moments away from the ocean surf, mountain bike trails, year-round golf, wineries, and majestic mountains, just to name a few. The air terminal building has more than tripled in size over the years thanks to many projects that have taken place and a 20-year expansion plan for the building. And super fun fact, did you know that Nanaimo Airport actually started out as a base for the Royal Canadian Air Force? It was for glider pilot training facilities and wartime emergency airfield. And now more than 80 years later, it's a regional airport that's connecting Vancouver Island to the world. So definitely put Nanaimo Airport on your next destination list when you go to Vancouver Island. So go get outside and explore. If you like this episode, please subscribe, download a few more, and leave a review. I really would love to hear from you, what you enjoyed and what your key takeaways were. And of course, please let me know if there's any aspect of the travel industry you want me to talk about next. You can also search for the hashtag #SheDaresToTravelPodcast on Instagram and comment on the episode's post with your questions. I'd love to answer them all for you guys. I hope you enjoy your day, stay so well, and until next time, fly straight.